There were members of this very committee that took part in an action at Delaney Hall on May 9th that need to be addressed. We have footage of those members of Congress slamming their bodies into our law enforcement officers, shoving them, screaming profanities in their faces, striking them with their fists, and otherwise assaulting law enforcement. The behavior was lawlessness. Had these members requested a tour, we certainly would have facilitated a tour.
That's the head of Homeland Security slamming that political stunt from last week by these 3 New Jersey Democrats, and she did it right to their face today. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, Robert Menendez Jr., Gold Bar Bob's son, and Bonnie Watson Coleman stormed the Newark ICE facility, fighting with officers. At one point, LaMonica basically throws a punch at a cop, so desperate to keep illegals in the country, even the violent criminals. This is what they have fallen to. Kristi Noem says they've committed felonies here, potentially. Fighting with federal agents, possibly assault. House Republicans are now considering censuring and stripping them from their committee assignments. The House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, threatening some kind of retaliation if they follow through with this against Democrats. Take a listen to this.
What happens if they were to go and arrest these members, or if they would try to sanction them here in the House of Representatives?
They'll find out.
What would you do?
They'll find out. We're not going to be intimidated by their tactics to try to force principled opposition from not standing up to their extremism.
These people are clowns. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, joins us tonight, and it's great to see you again. I want to start, punching a federal law enforcement agent while barging into a federal facility has got to be a crime. You see the video. LaMonica McIver is a big woman, and she throws that arm out at an officer of the law. That's got to be something, right?
Yeah, and Rob, I can't talk about pending cases, but what I can tell you is no one is going to be intimidated by Hakeem Jeffries, especially our U.S. Attorney, Alina Habba in New Jersey. So everyone's looking at these cases very closely.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, this is a stunt. They wanted so badly to get what they got. They wanted to make the news, get on MSNBC, maybe get arrested like Ras Baraka. This is exactly what they wanted. They were mostly no names, and this is what they're getting. The courts are demanding that we give due process.
Rob,
go ahead.
Yeah. And Rob, one other thing. We're in the middle of Law Enforcement Week here in Washington, D.C., honoring law enforcement officers, whether you're an ICE officer, a Homeland Security officer, a sheriff, local chief, or any of the federal agencies that fall under my office. We are going to look out for and protect law enforcement throughout this country.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about what's happening this week in Washington here in just a couple of minutes. Absolutely. I want to get to this first. So the courts are demanding due process for every illegal that has been brought into the country over the last 4 years, including criminal illegals. Stephen Miller says the White House is actively looking into suspending habeas corpus because obviously we've gone through something unprecedented. We never did we think that in this country that we would have a political party just let a purge of 20 million people come in with completely unvetted. Where do you see this case as it stands right now?
Well, Rob, also, we have the Alien Enemies Act for a reason. These people are alien enemies of the United States, and they are terrorist organizations, whether it's Sinaloa, MS-13, or TDA. They are jeopardizing the lives of our citizens. Not only jeopardizing, they're murdering and raping our citizens every day in this country. People are being harmed by illegal aliens, and our law enforcement officers aren't safe. So we're going to do everything in our country within the bounds of the law to protect everyone in this country and get the illegal aliens out of our country as fast as we can in a legal way. And these are all being litigated through the court system right now.
The other big case that is interesting to follow, there have been all of these lawsuits, these nationwide injunctions from these district judges. Yes. Tomorrow, the Supreme Court is set to hear arguments. The White House is really desperate to end this ability of these district judges to just impose their will on the entire country. Birthright citizenship is one example. They're going to hear that tomorrow. It's going to be a really important ruling when this comes out in a couple of months, but the process starts tomorrow. How do you view this case?
Yeah, it does start tomorrow, and John Sauer is our U.S. Solicitor General, and he is prepared to go. He's ready to go. And you know, what that means with a nationwide injunction is that you've got these district courts. It's like whack-a-mole, we say. You've got district courts in all over this country who unilaterally think they can shut down federal law. And so we have a conflict in the districts, and now it's up before the Supreme Court. But you know, we are confident in our legal analysis that you cannot do nationwide injunctions in this court. A tiny little district court judge cannot usurp the will of the President of the United States or our entire country and shut down an entire country.
Yeah, there were fears of the tyranny of the judicial system, tyranny of judges that go long back in this country. I want to ask you just one thing. You know, you come into a job like this. You know, you're head of the DOJ, you're the district attorney, or the attorney general. I'm sorry, district attorney, the attorney general. It's the job.
I was one of those too.
Yeah, I know. I remember. That's why I remember you calling you that a million times on TV. But you're the attorney general of the United States. You come into a, you know, it is such, from what we've learned about how this has functioned in this country, especially in the Trump years, you went into kind of a rat's nest. What have you found over these last few months? Have you met a lot of pushback? I mean, what's this process been like for you?
Pushback's an understatement. But I will tell you, when Donald Trump asked me to take this job, he gave me one directive: make America safe again. And it's not me, it's our incredible team at the Department of Justice that we're assembling with all of our federal law enforcement agencies, along with all the U.S. attorneys that we're still trying to get in place. We've got DEA, FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals working hand in hand with state, local, and state AGs throughout the country. In fact, I just had earlier today, I was at a roundtable with so many sheriffs, police chiefs, state AGs from around the country saying, how can we fix what's happened over the past 4 years? And it was actually anarchy. No one was prosecuting crimes. Law enforcement officers didn't feel like anyone had their backs because they didn't. Violent criminals were not getting prosecuted, and now they are. And it's really, I think it's refreshing for the country. We have a lot of work to do. President Trump, of course, has only been in office for barely over 100 days, but what he has done through the Department of Justice has been remarkable, and through all these law enforcement agencies. If I could brag for 1 minute on DEA, and they have seized over 25 million fentanyl pills, which is basically, it looks like an oxycodone or some other pill, but it is fentanyl, and it can kill you. 25 million. 3,300 kilos of fentanyl that equals to. That's really unbelievable, and that's because of our open borders and our FBI are out. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I mean, honestly, my thought was, I mean, how are people, and you're the head of the DOJ, how are people like Mayorkas? I think there should be charges brought for people like Mayorkas and the ones that blew that border open. What they've committed against the people of this country is just awful, but I know we can't go down that road, at least right now. I do want to talk, before I let you go, National Police Week. Thousands are in Washington, something like 40,000 to honor our fallen officers. You're redirecting funds that were used for DEI and transgender projects under Biden. You're moving that money over to support law enforcement, which is a wonderful thing and so needed. How much money are we talking about? Talk about the weight of that.
It's going to be countless amounts of money, and that's President Trump's directive, and he signed executive orders. Not only that, not only the money to help our law enforcement, but also the equipment. If you remember, in Trump 45, President Trump gave DOD surplus military equipment to our sheriffs, to our local law enforcement officers. What was the first thing Joe Biden did? He took that away from our police officers, which helped keep them safe and help keep our citizens safe. Yet what did Donald Trump do last week? He gave it right back to them, and he's going to give them the funds, as you said, along with all this equipment, because all of our agencies need it. You know, look at Kash Patel at FBI. He's doing an incredible job. Let me give you some stats there. All of the cases that they've made. We have, we were in Miami recently and arrested, huge arrest, cold cases that are being solved with MS-13 members, TDA members. Cash and I were out half an hour from here when one of the top members of MS-13 was living among us, and that guy just walked through our border. This is one of the top MS-13 members, and he is now in custody going back to El Salvador, where he's from. Our ATF agents have seized, and this is all what I'm talking about, is since Donald Trump has been in office, 18,000 firearms are off the streets. Think about that. Over 60,000 rounds of ammunition. And, you know, we had at the memorials, they've been so emotional. You know, this year we had 4 U.S. Marshals killed serving a warrant. And that's one of the most frightening things you can do as a law enforcement officer, because you don't know when you knock on a door what's on the other side of that door. And as we honor all these men and women this week at all these memorials, Rob, it's gut-wrenching because their families, you know, they sacrifice so much too for their loved ones to be law enforcement officers in this country. I'm sure that they are very grateful, though, to have people that actually support police back in charge of the DOJ and at the White House. It must be a relief for all law enforcement and their families in this country, because it got really scary there about 4 years ago in this country. We really didn't know what road we were heading down. Attorney General Pam Bondi, thank you so much for taking the time. We do appreciate it. Thank you, Rob, and please pray for all our law enforcement officers and all the families who have lost loved ones this year. Absolutely. Thank you so much. You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt Tonight on Newsmax.